Hello. Thank you for joining me today. You're watching Much Ado About Something, and I'm Donna. If you've been around, if you're a subscriber and you watch my videos, you know that I've had the virus. And I said that I would give you a follow-up on some of the side effects and just let you know the story, my experience of having the virus. And if you're new here, then this will all be new to you. Well, around, I want to say it's around December 10th, Donald and I both got sick. We thought we had a cold or a sinus infection. If you remember, if you watched my videos, I have a cup of tea with me Saturday night. I was drinking teas that were rich in vitamin C and trying to soothe myself because I thought I had a cold. And then the video, Feed the Animals with Me, I was real nasally and obviously had a virus, and I thought that I had a cold or a sinus infection, but it was indeed COVID. Some of our family had tested positive and were sick, and they had let us know. In fact, it was like about 4 members of our family. And Donald said, well, we need to go get a test because people have been sick and we don't know. We don't know what we have and we need to know. And I think he's right about that. As soon as, if you get sick and you don't know, you're not sure, it's the best to be tested so you'll know what you have. So we took home tests. He went and got home tests, and we took home tests. And they came and they were positive. So he called into work to let them know, and the owner of his company and some of the people that he worked with were telling him about the monoclonal antibody infusion. And so that sounded great. So we thought, well, tomorrow we'll go to the clinic, the hospital that was providing that. And so we drove out there, and we waited 4 hours in the waiting room. And we were finally called back. And then when the woman was processing my information, she said, did you test positive? And I told her yes. And she said, well, and I told her it was a home test. And she said, well, we don't accept those. You have to have a FDA approved test. And I mean, as far as we knew, the home tests were FDA approved. We didn't know any different. So we didn't get help that day. We had to leave. Well, we came home, and that night I got worse. And the next day, Donald said, well, I'm going back. On the way home, we stopped and got tested, an FDA approved test. So that was on the 17th when we were tested. So we had to wait 2 days for the results, which was on the 19th, December the 19th. And so Donald said, well, I'm going to, let's go on and go get our monoclonal antibody infusion. He said, I'm going back. And I told him, I said, I'm not able to go back. By that time, I was just getting up to go to the bathroom, and that was it. And I would come back and lay back down. I just really couldn't do anything else. And I knew it was going to be a 4-hour wait over there at that place. So I couldn't go over there and just sit for 4 hours. I wasn't in the physical condition to do that. So I didn't go, and Donald did go, and he got his infusion, and his symptoms, went away. He improved. He was sick, had flu-like symptoms, and like a sinus infection, or it was probably, I want to say in total a week, probably about 7 days. Well, I didn't get any better. I just wasn't getting any better. I was not able to get up. I wasn't doing well at all. I'm not a doctor or an expert of any kind. All I can share with you is my experience. I try to keep myself to have a general knowledge of what was going on, but I didn't know a lot about COVID, and I didn't know a lot about this sickness and how to, what all it did. But by experiencing this, I learned more. But by the 23rd, I told Donald that night, I said, I'm just not getting any better. And I was starting to breathe really shallow, and it was getting harder to breathe. So I said, tomorrow, if I'm not any better than this, then I'm going to the doctor. So I went to the urgent care, and it's part of our doctor's office. They have an urgent care facility just right below from the doctor's office. So that's where I went. And I walked in and gave them my information, and she said, well, do you know anybody, have you been around anybody with COVID? And I told her, yes, I've tested COVID, and that's why I'm here, is because I'm having trouble breathing. So I took I went right up and went into the exam room, and she took my vitals, and so she said, you're going to need an x-ray. So they sent me to x-ray. And then when I got back in the exam room from going to x-ray, the medical professional there, she told me, she said, your lungs are full of COVID. This stuff turns to concrete in people's lungs, and you're going to have to go to the hospital immediately. She said, who's here with you? And I told her my husband was here, so I had to call Donald to meet us at the ramp. And she said, I'm taking you down in a wheelchair. Well, I had walked up there, and so I was surprised. I was surprised, even though I knew I was sick. I was surprised at the urgency and all that took place that day at the doctor. So they sent us straight to the hospital, and when I went through triage, they put me in a room, and started doing all the things that they do. But this is what I've learned about what was going on with me through that experience. COVID-19 can affect the lungs, causing what we call COVID pneumonia, which is what I had. By the x-ray, my lungs were full of COVID pneumonia. But the damage is not done by the virus, but by the body's response to the virus. Inflammation of the lung tissue occurs when the antibodies and chemicals produced by the body in response to the virus attack your own lung tissue. And that's known, when that acerbates, it produces something that medical doctors call cytokine. And it's a cytokine storm, an immune response where the body starts to attack its own cells and tissues. And this happens about a week to 2 weeks into COVID, if it's going to happen to you. It doesn't happen to everybody. You might have 100 COVID infected people, and 22 might get the COVID pneumonia. And depending on who that person is, what's going on with their body, you'll have a different reaction. I mean, each one may have a different experience with the COVID pneumonia. Very serious but life-threatening condition. You have, when this happens, when this cytokine storm happens in your body, it's a serious thing. And I didn't know anything about it. And of course, what they treat that with is steroids. Because that cytokine storm and those cells, when that happens, it causes lung fibrosis, which is damage to the lungs. And that can be on a different scale as to how severe that is. Well, I was admitted into the hospital on December 24th. And when I got into that exam room at the hospital, or that little holding room, the doctor came in and he said, I am going to be admitting you. And I was only on like three units of oxygen. So, I'm telling you, I got there at a really good time, at the best possible time that I could have got there. And he was telling us about the progress that they've made over the course of a year and what they've learned about COVID pneumonia, and that he had a plan to treat me and that he was watching me closely, which made me feel better. And I was, I thought, well, I'm at the right place, and I'm just going to trust these people's knowledge. You know, they don't know a lot about COVID, but they've been dealing with it for since 2020. So, but he said he had learned the past year, of 2 drugs that he could use as tools that would help me. So me and Donald were encouraged by that, and so they, you know, after a long wait, and we got into the to a room, and but the doctor did say if you get worse, we've got a medication to give you, and it's a timely medication. It has to be given in a certain amount of time. So he had put that on my chart and had ordered that if I had any increase in oxygen. So the second night I was there, I was getting worse, and I needed more oxygen. That happened, and so he gave me the medications that he had, and I don't know what they are, and I don't know a lot about them, so I'm not going to get real technical with the names of the medications and all of that stuff. But it stopped the cytokine reaction in me. I reacted well to that medicine, and that's how my COVID pneumonia case has progressed as well as it possibly could. I was in the hospital until December 30th, and then I got to come home, and you'll see that on my I Am Home video, and it's a really sad video in a lot of ways, because you can just see the deterioration. You know, it happens really fast with COVID pneumonia, and it you know, it has a real effect. But I have some a list of the side effects here of what I noticed through my experience of this COVID pneumonia, and it's 13 side effects that I just wanted to let you know about, and talk to you about, and let you know what I've been doing about them. And I'm doing well. My the doctor at the hospital, my my physician, my regular doctor, they're very impressed by the my healing progress, and I am thankful for it. I am truly thankful that I was able to get out of the hospital, and I realized that it could have gone a different direction, and I could have been in there for much longer. Could have been on a ventilator. Could have been on a respirator. You know, but things went well, and I was able to, you know, to respond to that medicine, and I'm very thankful for that. But one of the first side effect was the struggle to gain normal breathing. I'm still on oxygen. The only time that I use the oxygen now is I do leave it on at night. I do breathe oxygen at night. And then during the course of a day, if I overexert myself or do something demanding, then I'll need to sit down and breathe oxygen. And I have an incentive spirometer here. It's this little thing that they gave me in the hospital. And when they put me in the hospital, I could only breathe it up to this top line. That's how bad my breathing was. But I can get up, you know, up here around 2,000. And they want you to do this 10 times an hour. In the hospital, I only did it 10 times every 3 hours. But since I've got out of the hospital, I still do this incentive spirometer. And it exercises your lungs, and it helps them. So I've been doing that. And I have this little oximeter that tells me my oxygen level and my heart rate. So one of the signs of COVID pneumonia is you have a low oxygen rate and a high heart rate. And that's one of the ways you can tell, you know, that you might have COVID pneumonia. So that's a good thing to keep up with, and so I do that. I am on a steroid, and there's a few other things that I take here that help me to deal with my healing process. There's been a burning sensation in my lungs. That's a number 2 side effect. So my lungs, when I breathe in, it's like a burning sensation. What I do for that is I usually sit down and put the oxygen on when I feel my lungs burning like that. Be sure and take my medicine, which I do anyway, but I'll be sure I take that steroid inhaler because it helps it. Number 3 is chest pain. It's in the back and the front. There's a lot of chest pain that comes with COVID pneumonia, or it has been for me. When you cough, you might have to put a pillow on your stomach or on your chest, because it can be sore and raw feeling in there. And what I do for the chest pain is I might take acetaminophen if it's really bad, rest, and just breathe oxygen. And that's really all you can do, and it'll relieve some of that chest pain. Number 4 is joint pain. And for joint pain, which I've heard is a lot of people, just even if they don't have COVID pneumonia and they just have COVID, they have a lot of joint pain. But I rest, put a heating pad on, and warm blankets, and the acetaminophen, take that following the directions on the package. That helps with the joint pain. And number 5 has been a really struggling side effect for me, and that's memory loss and brain fog. That's not something I'm used to dealing with. And Donald and I were talking about a friend of ours, and he was saying, well, where is he originally from? And I knew that as good as the back of my hand, but I could not think about it. It took me 3 days to remember where our friend was from, and that's so unlike me. Usually I have real good recall, and I can remember that with this number 5, with COVID, I have number 5, memory loss and brain fog. And that's something that I have really been dealing with, and it's been a real struggle. And but I am seeing that getting better, and I'm praying that does, that I get back to myself. Number 6 is fatigue. The fatigue is there, and there's not a lot you can do about it. You can get up and try to do things. I get up and try to do things, and the fatigue will hit me, and I just have to go down. I just have to go down and rest until that passes. And there's a point in the day when there's just no more getting back up. I know I'm down for the day, and that's not like me, and that's not how I usually operate. But that's what I've been dealing with, the fatigue. And when that happens, I rest. I have a good diet of good healing proteins and bone broth and nice green vegetables, and those things have really helped with the fatigue. I take the vitamins. I take vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, and some vitamin B vitamins, and that helps. That's helped me with the fatigue, I think. I would hate to think of it, how bad the fatigue could be if I wasn't taking those vitamins and eating right. You have to eat a really healthy diet, a healing diet. And you can research what the best healing diet for your circumstance might be. Your health circumstances, and you just have to research that for yourself, for each individual. The weight loss and extreme appetite, that's number 7. The weight loss started immediately when I got the COVID virus. I noticed I didn't have an appetite. I never lost my sense of smell or my sense of taste. I kept those, which is unusual because most people do. Donald lost his sense of smell and his sense of taste. So that wasn't a factor in my appetite. It was just I didn't have much of an appetite until I got into the hospital. And then when they were giving me steroids, I had an extreme appetite. I was extremely hungry. But then when I would get food, I could only eat like 2 or 3 bites. So that was something I have since. It's been a little over 2 months since I've had COVID pneumonia, since I was diagnosed with COVID pneumonia. So I have since regained my appetite, and I have gained some weight back from where I had been first been sick. But I still, am not eating or sleeping like I normally would. It's not gone back to normal by any means. And number 8 is muscle tone. Yes, I have lost muscle tone. Well, of course, you're laying around and your body doesn't have oxygen, and as like it's used to having. I mean, you have oxygen, you're still alive, but you're not getting the oxygen to all of your body like you usually do. And COVID pneumonia causes rapid deterioration. I'm just amazed. I mean, I have been through illnesses and recovered from them, but I have never really dealt with something that has this much deterioration in so quick of a time. But for the muscle tone and muscle loss, I try to move. I just try to move as much as I possibly can. I've had a lot of comments, from friends and family. You're not resting. You're not resting. You're not taking care of yourself. I am resting. I do rest. I am taking care of myself. But I understand with this COVID pneumonia that it's not something you can just lay down with. I do get up, and even when I was in the hospital, I made it a point that I would get up every 3 hours and move. And, I'm not saying I ran a marathon by no means, but I would get up and move and keep myself up. And that's part of my healing. For me, that's something I have to do, and I was able to do, and I still do that. I still try to get up as much as I possibly can and do what I possibly can without pushing myself to any kind of breaking point, to keep muscle tone and to keep from just letting pneumonia just sit in there. So that's something I do. I move. And number 9 is hair loss. Wow. I mean, I know people that didn't have COVID pneumonia and they had COVID, the COVID virus, and their hair, I mean, it just comes with that. I have friends that have just saying the hair loss is tremendous, and I have noticed a tremendous amount of hair loss. I wasn't sure if it was from COVID or if it was from low oxygen or the medicine I got in the hospital. I mean, I just didn't know, but evidently hair loss comes with a COVID virus. Bowel changes, I won't go into that very much, but I mean, everybody's different with their bowels anyway, how often they go use the bathroom. But I'm telling you, bowel changes that is a side effect of the COVID pneumonia. Number 11 is dry skin. Yes, and let me go back to bowel changes. What I do about that is you just have to eat a healthy diet, as healthy as you possibly can, and hopefully get yourself regulated in some form, back to your normal self. That's what I've been doing for that. But number 11 is dry skin. Oh my goodness. I mean, Lord, everything has just been dry and flaky. I've never felt so dry. I've had eczema for 31 years. This is a remarkable thing that's come out of all of this. But my eczema was from my elbow up in here. I mean, I just kept it for over 31 years. These were just raw patches of eczema right here. And I would have to coat it with Vaseline even to take a shower or a bath to keep it from feeling like it was just burning. Well, it's gone. I don't know why. I don't know if it's the immune response that I had. I don't know if it's the medications that I had in the hospital. I don't know. But after 31 years, for the first time, I don't have eczema on my elbows. I think that's amazing. But the rest of me has been dry. My face, I mean, just dry. Just the dry skin I've ever had. So for that, I'm drinking plenty of water. I eat a lot of bone broth and gelatin and take supplements that are specific to hair and skin and nail growth. And I've been trying to take as good care of my skin as I can. You know, really, when you're this dry, when you get that dry, external um, things just help you. They don't really treat it. I mean, you have to treat it from the inside out. And so that's what I've been trying to do with a good diet. Another number 12 is twitching extremities, leg cramps. Oh my goodness. Um, that's been something to deal with, and I'm still doing that. You know, I lay down and go to bed, and my legs twitch and my arms twitch. And Donald was pointing it out the other night that when you sleep, you twitch, and I do. And that's coming from the COVID pneumonia in some way. I'm not sure how. But I take magnesium and make sure I have you know, every mammal needs salt, so I make sure I have an adequate amount of salt to help with the leg cramps. And I'm just dealing with that. And number 13 is isolation. Oh, the isolation that comes from the COVID pneumonia experience has been a whole new thing. It's a very real side effect. It's a very real thing to deal with. The emotional toil it takes on you to be sick, to be so sick and be fighting an illness, and then be limited to who you can be around and who can come and see you. Donald only got to come to the hospital for 2 hours a day, and here it was the holidays. It was very isolating, and it was took a mental toll on me. It was very lonely. I don't mind solitude. I love time to myself, and I love to have solitude. But there's a difference in solitude and loneliness. So the isolation that came from having the COVID pneumonia and even healing, you know, they want you to stay in as much as possible because you do have some lung damage. They don't want you to have any kind of other illness, you know, not a cold or a flu or anything else that your body has to deal with. It would not be good when you're recovering from COVID pneumonia. So you have to kind of isolate yourself. Thankfully, we have the phone and we have things that can help with that. But in general, isolation is a real side effect of the COVID-19 and the COVID pneumonia. Well, thank you for letting me share my experience with you today. I hope it helps somebody in their experience. If there's two things that I would like for you to take away out of this is make sure if you get sick to get tested so you'll know what you're dealing with. And if your oxygen level goes below 94 and your heart rate goes up, get medical attention because that's two signs of COVID pneumonia. And it's a lot to deal with, and timely treatment makes a difference. Well, I thank you for joining me today, and take good care of yourself out there and do what you need to do. And like always, until next time.